Okay, back.
Okay, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so sorry about that. Okay, so please, where did I stop?
Yeah, you were explaining the menus.
Okay, so we have the open file. You could download either an HTML markup or notebook or in Python format or in PDF. Okay, so for this, each of these stuff are called cells. You could do Shift Enter to run a cell. For instance, I could say 1+3. I could do Shift. I could on my keyboard. I could do Shift Enter. It's going to run it, or I could click here and say run, or I could click on this button here and say run. I hope we are clear on that. That's how to run a cell. Okay, so I could say one asterisk 5. I can click here. That's the output. So this out is the output. Okay, don't mind when you see 3, when you see 4, it means like the number, like the cell you are currently running. Okay, I could, for instance, if I want to create a new cell, I do alt. It's going to run it and at the same time create a new cell for me. Alt enter key is going to create a new cell below for me, and as well run this cell. Okay, so if I do alt enter again, I'm going to create. I can continue to do alt enter, alt enter. Now to delete each of these cells, you could come here. You could click on the cell. For instance, I want to delete this cell. You come here and say file. I'm sorry, edit and delete cell. Or I could click here. For instance, if I click here, you see the color of the cell is green. Okay. Then when I click outside, it's blue. So I tap D twice so fast and it's going to delete it. Are we clear on that? Hello, are we there? Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
we are
here.
Okay. So also there's something
Yeah,
called all right. So also there's something called comments in Python. So for instance, comments are like codes that are not executed when you run them because the compiler or the interpreter of the language doesn't understand what it is. Okay, so how do you comment? When you comment, comments allow you to better understand your code when you come back to it. Okay, so for example, in this place, I could say hashtag this is um this is for addition. We say this is for addition. Okay, so this comment now is just there. When I run this, shift enter, it's going to run. It's just there for me to better understand that, okay, this particular cell is talking about addition. Okay, so I could copy this, right, and paste it here and say code. Now, each of these cell, when they are created, they are on code by default. Okay, now I could decide to convert this to an heading in the sense that when I click OK and I run this, heading in the sense that just the way we have Python crash course here, Python crash course here is an header. And can you see the type it is in Markdown? Okay. So for example, I just want to say, okay, this is for addition. And like for instance, this cell is in code now. I change it to Markdown. Once I type, if I type 1+5, 6, sorry. If I type 1+6, it won't run because it's seeing it now as just a normal text. I hope we get. But when I convert it back to code and I click on run, shift enter or alt enter, it's going to give me the output of 7. I hope you understand that. Okay. Now, what other stuff do we need to know? So for example, if we are having issues with our kernel and it's probably not responding, you could come here and say, okay, restart and run all cells, or you could say shut down, or you could reconnect, or you could interrupt, or you could just click. The best is just to click restart and run all cells. So it's going to restart and run all cells. Or you could say restart and clear output. So if I click on this and say restart and clear all output, now it's going to restart and so there's no output. So I have to run from the beginning again. So the Zoom is likely to time out because it's 40 minutes. So probably we'll just rejoin again. So when I click this, it's going to give me this. I hope you understand. I think that's just the basics for now. Okay, for example, if I have this cell and I want to move it up, I could come here, cell. Insert. I could insert a cell above, or I can decide to insert a cell below it. Insert cell. I could insert the cell below it. Or I could decide to move this cell to the top. That is edit, and I say move cell up, move cell up, move the cell up. So I have the cell up, or you could decide to move the cell down, depending on what you want to do. So, or you could save also, you could save your project. Once you are done, just click on save. So it could just save automatically because it's saving based on this last save you've done, or you press Ctrl S just to save it. I hope we are cleared on that. I think that's all you need to know for the basics of using this. Also, there's something called help. We'll be looking at libraries such as NumPy, Matplotlib, Pandas. Yes, for our for data science. Okay, so we'll be looking at all these libraries soon. So we could, once you click here, it's reference to the website. When we get there, we are going to click on it. But for now, let's just leave it. But just know that under the help, we have the NumPy, the Matplotlib, and the Pandas, which we'll be using later on. Then you could do a user interface store. Okay, you could do a store if you probably don't understand how to go about things. So it's going to give us an intro, what this is, what this is for, and other stuff. So you could go for it later on if you want to get more understanding of it. I hope we are clear on that. Can I proceed?
Yeah, sure.
All right, thank you.
Go
So, all right, thank you. So now back to our Python crash course. We have 6 data types for Python. We have 6 data types for Python, which are the numbers, strings, lists, tuple, sets, dictionary. Now, when I say numbers, what do I mean by numbers? This is just an overview of what we'll be looking at. Looking at comparison operators, if, statements, loop, range, list, comparison, and so on and so forth. So when I say numbers, what do I mean? I'm saying numbers are into 3 types. Okay, we have the integers. Now, when I say integers, I'm talking about whole numbers. I'm very sure you understand what whole numbers are. That is just a number on its own, be it 1,000, be it 1 million, or be it 10 or 15 or 20. Okay, then we have floats. Now, floats are also called decimal. For example, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 9.5, 10.5, 100.101. Those are called floats. Those are data type. That's the data type. So once you see, if someone asks you what's the data type for 6.5, you should know it's float. When someone asks you what's the data type for 10, you should know it's integer. Then when we talk about complex numbers, what do we mean? We are saying hexadecimal. I hope you understand what I mean by hexadecimal. When we say something like from 0 to 9, then we have F. When I say 0 to 9, then we have F. When I say 0 to 9, we have F, and we have A to F. Sorry, we have A to F. Okay. So for this one, we're looking at basic operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Okay, so if I say 1 plus 1, it gives me 2. Don't forget I told you how we should run it. Just click on run this button to run cell. Okay. Don't just care less about this 152 and 152. It's just showing what's, like, for instance, for example, if I restart kernel, that means it will show me that this is 1, this place is 1, input 1, and because that's the first cell I've run. So 152 is showing that, it's telling me that, okay, I'm running 152 cell currently. Okay, so if I run this cell also, show me 153. Okay, so it's just like that. You could just ignore that because it has nothing to do with what we are doing currently. So 1 times 3.0 is still 3.0. 1 divided by a complex number, 2, is still, it's going to give us this. That's 0.5 plus this. You could check about complex number on Google and read up more. Then we have 2 asterisk 4, which means exponential, or sorry, raised to power of, sorry, I said exponential. That's raised to power of. So for example, you want to do 2 raised to power of 16, 2 raised to power of 4 or 3, or in mathematics, if we are familiar with math, that's what this operation is for. Then when we talk about modulus, we are saying 5 modulus 2, which is going to give us a remainder of 1. Okay, if we do 4 modulus 2, we won't get anything because there's no remainder. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay, so when we say 5 slash divided by 2, it's going to give us the number of times 2 is divided by 5. Then when we do 5 modulus 2, we're going to get a remainder of 5 modulus 2.1, we're going to get a remainder of 0.799. Okay, so I'll be fast as possible. I hope we get the concept. Then we have what we call strings. So for strings are also called alphabets. Okay, so when you hear the data type string, what comes to your mind should be alphabet. And we just don't write alphabet like this. I cannot just say good. Sorry, I can't just say good as in alphabet, Abby, as a string. Sorry, I can't just say good as a string. I have to include a quotation in it. So anytime we see a word or a sentence in quotation, either double or single quotation, they are identified as a string. Okay, so for instance, I could have 100. 100 here is different from this 100. Now, what's the difference between this 100 and this 100? The difference is that this data type is a string, and this one is a number, that is an integer. Don't forget I talked about integer here. It's an O number. Okay, so it's an integer. This one is a string. This 100 is a string, while this one is an integer. Okay, so a string could be either single quotes or double quotes. Okay, could be either a single quote or double quote. Either way you like it. I could highlight this and do shifts, and I get a double quote. Okay, let me delete this single quote. Either way, is a string. A string is a string. Okay, then we have what they call multi-line strings. For example, I have 4 sentences, and I would love all of them to be together. All I just have to do is to do this. I do quotes, quotes, quotes. So I have 3 at my left, I have 3 at my right. So whatever is in between these guys, whatever is in between here are called strings. And I could have as many as many lines as possible. Call them multiple line strings. I could have as many lines as possible. It doesn't count. Even if I have an apostrophe, like all these don'ts won't give me an error. Okay, so that's that for that. Then now let's move to concatenation. Let's move to before we enter concatenation, let me talk about something called variables. Now, a variable is like a container. We all know a water bottle, either Eva water or other type of water. Now, a water bottle is like a container holding a substance, either a bit liquid or solid. So the water in it is the value. So for example, we have var equals to 1. Now, var is called a variable. Okay, Now, this var could be anything. You could name it A. And there's a naming convention for naming variable. That is, you can't name a variable by starting with a number. Okay. If you say you can't start naming a variable with a number, you could read it, you could check it out. Naming convention for variables in Python. That's our first assignment. Are we together? Are we together?
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yes, we are.
Okay. So our first assignment, please take note, is what are the naming what is the naming convention for variable in Python? That is, how do we create variables in Python? What is the format for creating variable in Python? Either way you ask Google this question, it's going to give you similar answers. Okay. So you can't start a variable, you can't create a variable starting with a number, you have to start with a digit. And even if you are going to add a number, it's fine. It should be at the end of it, not at the beginning, not starting a variable with 2. Okay. Then you can't start with we can't start a variable with what's it called? What are this stuff called again? With a symbol. Yeah, you couldn't start a variable with a symbol.
Special characters.
Special characters, thank you, or symbols. Either way, you can't start with a bracket, or you can't start with apostrophe or any word. So the best is to just give your the variable any name. Be it, for example, I love using variables like Bob or tuna, or for example, let me say I'm working more than one. I could say tuna 1 equals to, I could say tuna 1 equals to this, and now say tuna, I could say tuna 2 equals to 10, 20, sorry. And I say tuna 1 plus tuna 2. And I run this, I'm going to have my answer. Okay. Now, me saying tuna 1 plus tuna 2, don't forget this variable naming is correct. But what if I now change this aspect to 1 and I say, okay, this is 2? I'm definitely going to have an error, invalid syntax, because that's not how they create variable in Python. So you could just do the assignments, do some read-ups. I'm going to ask us next class. Okay. Okay. So now when I say tuna 1 plus tuna 2, this compiler, that is Jupyter, already understand I'm saying print. Now, when I say print, what do I mean? Print is a data type, is a keyword in Python. When I say print, what do I mean? I'm saying display to screen tuna 1 plus tuna 2. Okay. Either I say print tuna 1 plus tuna 2. Don't forget that in parentheses. Either way I say it is fine. Okay. Either way I say it is fine. For print tuna 1 plus tuna 2, it's going to give me 21. Okay. Are we clear on that? All right. So moving on, I want to create a variable. Now, this variable I created is called first name. The first variable is first name, and it's holding the value or an item, or yes, a value called winner. Now, winner is what data type? Can someone just answer me what data type is this? We've talked about numbers, we've talked about strings. So what data type is this?
It's a variable.
No, I mean this one. This is a variable. First
Okay.
name. Sorry?
That's a string now.
Okay, that's a string. Thank you. So first name is a variable. Then last name is a variable. Then winner is a string. Emito is a string. Okay. So I say print first name plus last name. I'm going to have winner like this. Okay. Now, don't forget this plus means concatenation. That is joining two strings together. They didn't say joining a string and an integer together. It's joining two strings together. So if I say A equals to LO, LO is a string, B equals to 10, 10 is a number. And I said A plus B. Don't forget I said A, you can say A plus B, or you could say print A. You could say print A plus B. Either way you say it is fine. But it's always good to say print so you don't. Now we're going to have an error here. Reason that we are trying to concatenate a string and a number. We're going to have an error.
Goodness, what of in that
Sorry?
line 162? If what if you want to have a space after concatenator?
If you want to have a
You get what I'm
space,
saying?
okay, if you want to
I
have a
say yes. How do you
okay, you could have a space. Okay, now there are two.
do that?
Okay, all right, I get your question now. There are two types of concatenation. We were supposed to, like, when we get down, we're supposed to look at the other one, but I could just chip in it here. We have another concatenation called comma. So if I run comma, I'm going to separate winner from emitter. Okay, but you could use addition, but the best to use is the comma because it actually separates the first name and the last name from each other. Okay, so I hope that answered your question. Yes, it did. It does.
Very well.
All right, thank you. So the reason why we're having an error here is because we're having a plus a. We are trying to join. That's concatenate. When I say concatenate, I'm saying joining. It's trying to join a string and a number, which won't work. So I'm going to highlight this and do this, and I say print. So I'm having hello. Don't forget, what data type is this 10 now? Can someone answer me, please?
10 is a string.
Okay,
An
thank you.
integer.
It's a string. Once
a
you
string.
have once that quotation is inside that quotation mark, becomes a string.
Yeah, thank you very much. So please take note. Once
becomes a string.
Yes, take note. Once a number is between a quotation, either single or double quotation, double quotes, it's now a string. So this guy is now a string, no longer. It's only when you have something like this, 10, is standing alone, then it's an integer. Then if I have 0.5, is a float. But as long as inside a single or a double quote, it's a string. Okay. So if I want to separate this, I could add comma here and say hello 10. Okay. So I hope you understand that. Now moving on, we have string 1 and string 2. String 1 is a variable, string 2 is a variable. String 1 is holding the item or the item welcome, or it's holding something called item, and it's holding something called welcome, and string 2 is holding something called to Python. So if I say I could highlight this and I could press shift, I could hold my control and press the key that has question mark and backward slash that is close to shift. So once I press it, I'm going to have everything commented. Okay, you could do that. Once you highlight everything, you hold control and press the backward slash. It's going to highlight it for us. So that's to highlight. For example, you have a very large string content you want to highlight. Or I could say Control A and press it. You could try it on your notebook also. Okay. So back to what I'm doing. I highlighted this and do this. Okay. So string 3 equals to print string 1 plus string 2. Okay. So if I say string 1 plus string 2, string 3 equals to print string 1 plus string 2. So when I run this, I have welcome to Python. The reason why I have welcome to Python not together is because I gave a space. What if I remove this space here? I'm going to have welcome to. Now there's no space in between, but I have to Python because there's a space here. There's a white space here. So if I put in this space and I run this, I have welcome to Python. Okay. Or I could say welcome, comma, Python. Either way, I still have it. Okay. But if I remove this and I run this, I have this. So that means there's no need for me to put in space here because I'm using comma. And don't forget, I told us that comma is the best way for us to do concatenation of two strings or multiple strings. Okay. So I'm going to highlight this guy and comment it using control backward slash. Okay. Now I'm going to de-highlight this by decomment this by highlighting holding control and do shift and press backward slash. Okay, so if I run this, I'm going to have welcome to string 3 equals to welcome to Python. I now say string 3. Don't forget, you saying string 3 like this just simply means print what? Print string 3. Okay. So when I run this, I have print string 3. But do you notice there's a difference between this guy and this guy? So when I say string 3, I have welcome to Python printed quite all right, but I have it in a single quote. But when I come like this and say, okay, print string 3, I have it without a single quote. So it's always good to include the print in whatever we want to do. Okay. So over here I said print string 3 times 4. Now this is called repetition. For example, I want to print something more than once. Okay. I could say print string 3 twice. So when I run this, I have welcome to Python twice. Okay. So there's no way I could remove the space between them because it's called repetition. I'm printing it. So I could print it 100 times. This is it. I have it 100 times printed. Okay. So depending on how you want it. Okay. So now let's move on to slicing. Don't forget, I told us that we could have a markdown, which is over here. If I change this place, we have a markdown, we have code. So whatever we're working with, can we all hear me? Can we hear me?
Go ahead.
All right, so we could have a markdown. So like this is, I'm going to change this back to a markdown. So when I run it, I don't get an error. I'm going to change this guy. I'm just doing it so we could understand. I'm going to change this guy to a code. When I run this, I'm going to have an error because it's saying invalid, okay? But when I change this guy back to a markdown, I'm not going to get an error. I'm just going to see it as a plain text, okay? I'm very sure we all understand that. So now let's move to slicing. Slicing is a technique for extracting a part of a string, okay? Altogether, slicing is a technique for extracting a part of a string, okay? So for example, I want to, for example, okay, before I do that, let me say something that slicing, that is, there's something called indexing, which starts from 0, okay? So for example, my name is Goodness, all right? My name is Goodness, and my name is, has 8 letters. That is, Goodness has 8 letters, okay? Right? Goodness has 8 letters. Also, I used another example here because when I was doing the recording, I gave example, I gave illustration, but I never knew I never knew the recorded video didn't save. That was why I have to go through this over again. Okay. So I used young and I used my name also. So my name is has 8 letters, young has 5 letters. Okay. Don't forget I told us that indexing starts from 0 in Python. So the index starts from 0. So G has an index of 0, O has an index of 1, the second O has an index of 2, D has an index of 3, N has an index of 4, 5 has an index of 5, so E has an index of 5, S has an index of 6, then the last S has an index of 7. Just as we have it there. Now, how do we get this 7? All you just have to do is know the numbers of letters in the string. Don't forget this is a string. This is a string. If I do this, if I put it in a single quote or a double quote, sorry. If I put it in a single quote or a double quote, it turns to a string, okay? So I can do this and do this. Okay, turns to a string. This is a string actually. Okay. So once you can know the length of a string, all you just have to say is the length of the string minus 1 equals to 7. So you're going to know where the ending of your index is. Now let's take an example 2. Young has 5 letters. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now I just said 5 minus 1, which is 4. So I know the indexing of young starts from 0 and it's going to end by 4. So now let's just do a quick test. So I have, just to see if we are all following, I have South Tech. Okay, now this is a string. Consider this as a string. Let me put it in quotation so we could, because we all understood that everything inside a quote is a string. So it's South-Tech is a string, and South-Tech has how many letters? 1,
7.
7. Thank you. So South-Tech has 7 letters, and when I say it has 7 letters, okay, now 7 minus 1 equals to what? 6, right? All together.
Yeah.
So now I know that South-Tech has the starting index for every string is 0. So I could say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now the last index is 6. I already know that, okay, the ending of South-Tech, that is the index, the last index is going to be 6. So S as an index, S as an index of 0, O as an index of 1, U as an index of 2, T as an index of 3, E as an index of 4, C as an index of 5, and H as an index of 6. Okay, very sure we all understand that. Now, okay, so let's do something more complicated. Now, string 1, what's our string 1? String 1 is what? Equals to welcome, just the way we have it here. Now, so let's try to break it down so we could all understand. String 1 has an index of welcome. Now, the normal length is what? The normal length of the string is what? 7. Are we all together? Are we all together, please?
Yeah.
Okay. So we could say 7 minus 1 equals to 6. So the ending of this index is what? 6. Do we understand? Do we get the concept? All together?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So now string 1 equals to, so don't forget the index of W has an index of 0, E has an index of 1, L has an index of 2, C has an index of 3, O has an index of 4, M has an index of 5, and E has an index of 6. Okay, so I could say print string 1. Now, slicing, this is what they call slicing. This aspect is called slicing. Okay, slicing, don't forget over here, they said slicing is a technique for extracting a part of a string. Okay, so for example, I would love to bring out the word come. Okay, C-O-M-E. I would love to bring it out. So how do I bring this word out from this word called welcome? Okay, or let's say we want to bring out the word well. Okay, how do we bring it out? Now we use what they call slicing. So I could say, if I say, let me cut this so I could run them one after the other so we could understand. So if I say 0, index of 0, what is it going to give me, please? Can someone just guess?
1.
No,
W.
the index of 0. Don't
We'll
forget.
give you W.
Will give me W. Thank you. Don't forget. Let me come again. 0 represents W. Let me put it that way. 1 represents E. So if I type in 1 here now, I'm going to get what? E. If I type in 5 here, what will I get? I'm going to get, if I type in 5 here, I'm going to get M. Okay? So it's like you're saying, okay, I want to get E. So I just put in 6, I get E. I hope you all understand that now. So if I say I want to get from 0, I want to get 0, I want to print the entire string. Like I want to print welcome to screen. I just have to do 0, that is from W and semicolon. Now this semicolon means everything backward. That is from the starting point. The starting point of 0 is what? W. So W, I want to print W backward. So it's going to give me what? Welcome. Okay. Now I can now start specifying, okay, where exactly I want to print from. Okay, I could specify where I want to print from. So I could say I want to print from 3. 3 is what? What
L.
does 3 represent? The index of 3.
L. L.
No. Don't look at this one. Sorry, don't look at this one. We are looking at the index. This is the index.
Okay.
Don't be confused.
That's C.
So the index of 3, sorry, the index of C is 3, right? So if I say I want to print com, just com, I'm going to have 3 backward. Don't forget I said 3 backward is everything. Okay, so I'm going to have com all together. Okay, so what if I just want to print C? I just want to print CO. What is it going to be? The beginning of C is 3, right? Right, all together. Hello, are we together?
Yeah, we're following.
Okay, so the beginning of C is 3, and the ending is 4. Okay.
Hmm.
So if I put 3 and 4, will it give me CO? Let's try it out. It will give me CO because don't forget I said once you have the length of what you want to bring out, you have to subtract 1 from it. Okay? All together. So now,
yeah, you said so.
So for now, I want to print 3 and 4. I want to print CO. And O has an index of what?
4.
O of 4, right?
4.
So 4 minus
Yeah.
1 is what?
3.
Okay. So 4 minus 1 is 3. 4 minus 1 is 3. Now, if I want to print, okay, sorry, as it run, okay, I have 3. CO. I told us initially that we have to subtract 1 from it, right? That is, if we want to print CO. But when you put 3 and 4, we won't get CO because the indexing starts from 0 up to 6. And don't forget the normal labeling is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was why I put in, sorry. Okay, yes, that was why I put in this so we could understand. Okay, let me come again so we run this again. Okay, so the starting of, okay, I've talked about com. Okay, so now let's try to print me again. Let's see if we're going to have something. Me. So the starting point of me is what? 5. Okay. And if I do 5 and semicolon, I should have me. It gives me everything, right? All together. Okay.
Yeah, so but you skipped. You initially wanted to do CO. Which
yes, I will do it now. I'll do it now. So now, for us to get CO, okay, I have to say the beginning of C is what? 3, right?
Yes.
And the ending of O is 4. But when I put in 4 here, I'm not going to get CO. I'm just going to get C. Don't forget, we've already done what is it called? 7 minus 1, which is equals to 6. That is, we've already reduced the initial length. The length of this string of welcome is 7 initially by default. Okay, the length is 7 by default. So I cannot just say 3 and 4 should give me 3 to 4 should give me CO. But if I put in 3 to 5, I'm going to get CO. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
So you simply might not, if you are not using that end bracket to show to the end, if you want to use the next index, you just subtract 1 from it from that number.
Yes.
So instead of saying 3, 4, you say 3, 5. That's
Yes.
5 minus 1 will eventually get you back to that 4
4.
again.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I get,
I don't
I
know if,
get it.
thank you very much, sir. I don't know if other people get the concept.
Yeah, we got it.
All right. So let's say we want to print another, let's say we want to print WEL. WEL has an index of what? What's the index of W? 0.
0.
Yes. Now, want to print to L. If we put 2, we won't get it. Right?
So it will be 3.
It will be 3. Thank you. So we are going to have well. Okay? Do we all get the concept?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So
think
now,
so.
so someone should tell me if I want to print LCOM.
That would be 2
LCOM. Okay? It will be what?
2
to the
column
end.
6.
2
2 to the
2
end.
column
column 6.
2
6.
column
2
6.
column end, or 2,
If
yes,
I print
2
2
column
column
end.
6.
if I print 2 column N, it's going to give me to E. But I said I want to stop at M.
Okay,
So that
2 column 6.
2 column
yeah,
6.
yes. So
Yeah.
it will be 2 column 6. So thank you very much. So that's that for indexing. Now we have the positive indexing and the negative indexing. Now the negative indexing, how does it work? The initial our indexing, that is the starting of this indexing is still what? 0, either positive or negative 0. But this one now starts from behind. So for example, if I say -1 to the end, I'm going to have what? E. I'm going to have, okay, let's do it like, if I say -1, I'm going to have E. If I say -2, I just want us to get the concept. I'm going to have, sorry. If I say -2, I'm going to have, what's missing? Sorry. If I say -2, I'm going to have M. All together. Yes.
Yeah, you have M.
If I say -0, I'm going to have what? W.
W.
Yes. Or if I say 0 itself, I'm going to still have W. Do you get? If I say 0 itself, I'll have W. If I say -0, I'll still have W. But if I say I want to get E now, if I say E now, what is it going to be? -6.
-6.
Yes. I'm going to have E. So if I say -5, I will have L. Okay, so that's how it is.
L.
Okay.
Yeah, but there are 2 E's there. So
yes.
how do you know?
It's the same thing. It's actually going to print you because there are 2 E's actually. If I say -1, okay, let's try it. If I say -1, I'm going to have E. If I say -6, I'm going to have E.
Can you concatenate? Can you concatenate indexing? Can you select the 2 E's? Is it possible?
No, you can't select the 2 E's currently because, okay, let me see if I could try this, but I don't think it's going to work. Or if it's going to, let's see, -2, it won't work. It won't. Initially, you could probably just select 2 strings. It won't work. But if I want to select from -6, and if I do this, sorry, if I do the ending stuff, I'm going to have from E downward. Altogether, I'm going to have from E downward. So if I say I just want to select from, let me see, -3 to, sorry, -4. I want to print com, -4 to everything. I should have com, right? Do we get that? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I say I want to print -2, I could say -2, sorry, -2 everything. I should have me, right? I could say -0 down. I could have welcome. Now let's now pick in between now. Okay. So for example, I want to print just com, like the way I have .com com. So let me just print the com there. So I'm going to paste this. So please, can someone tell me what's going to be? I just want to print out this guy. So what is it going to be? Can someone help out?
-4 to
-4 column.
-4 column what?
column -1.
Okay. So I'm going to have that. So it's all agreed that we all get the concept. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. So now there's something called mutable and immutable. So when I say mutable, I'm saying changeable. That is, for a string cannot be changed. For example, you know, string 1 equals to welcome, right? Can we remember when I said string 1 equals to welcome over here? Are we together? So for example, someone now say you want to change this welcome to probably D, this W. Somebody say wants to change this letter to D. Are we together? Are we together? Hello?
Yeah, we
can hear you.
following.
Okay. So it's not possible to change the letter in a string. Okay. So for example, someone saying, I want to change the E, this E now, because we have 2 E's here now. I want to change one of the E's. So now let's see. We're going to get an error. So what's the index of this E? Let's say we want to change this E now. The index of this E is 1. Okay. So I come in here and say E. I want to change E to maybe J or something. I run it. I'm going to have an error. So it means that we can't change the index. Don't forget, if we want to access a string, we access it by the index. All this we've been doing is we've been accessing it by the index. That is, all this are the index. We are accessing a string. We're accessing this welcome by the index. Okay. So let's move on to a list. Now, a list contains series of values. Okay. Either a string or an integer or a float can be in a list. Are we together? Okay, so for example, this is how to identify a list. A list is always inside a square bracket. So anytime you see a square bracket that looks like this, just know it's a list. Whatever item is inside the square bracket are known as item or values. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. They are called items or values. Okay, so I could have 4.5. So when I run this, I'm having an error because I didn't put comma. So the comma separates each of those values. Okay, it distinguishes each of those values. So I have 1, I have 2, I have 3, I have 4.5. Okay, so that's how to identify a list. You could either say print, or you could either just do like this. And there you have it. You still have it like this. Don't forget, I told us Jupyter Notebook understand the concept of print. Either once you put it like this, it will still print it. But let's say you're using another ID like PyCharm or Spider or other ID, it might not recognize it. So it's best to always put in print. Okay, it's the best practice for us. All together, yes, we are. Okay, so moving on. We have G. G is a what? A variable holding a list. Which is this list? Okay. Now we're talking about a list inside a list. Now let me use this example. Don't forget we talked about indexing. Indexing doesn't just have to do with string alone. Indexing works in a list also. Okay. So for example, we have this as 0. This has an I as an index of 0. So for example, if I want to take out, I want to print I to screen now. All I just have to do is to do this, and I have I on the screen. Or I could say print this. Or I could say print this, and I have I. Either way I do it is totally fine. Okay? Or so now this has an index of 0, 1 has an index of 1. Then this, like this, is a list. That is a list inside a list. Don't forget I said any item where you see a square bracket in the beginning and the end is called a list. So this is a list also. And inside this list, it also has the beginning of 0 and also has the ending of 1. Okay. So now, for example, let's say I want to print out this list, this 1 and 2. This is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. Okay. So all I just have to do is to say, don't forget how to create a new cell. All you just have to do is to do Alt Enter and you create a new cell. Okay. So all I just have to do is to say print out for me g of what? 2. So g of 2 is going to be 1, 2. Right? G of 1 is going to give us 1, 2. I've printed this out. So what if my target is to print out just this 2 or probably just this 1? How do I go about it? I just had a square bracket here again and put in 1. That's as simple as it. So I have 2 printed. Do we understand this concept? Because we're going to an advanced one now. Please, can someone respond if they understand this concept?
No, I don't.
Okay, let me explain again. We have, don't forget I said this is a list. A list is enclosed in a square bracket. Can you see the green light, the green highlighted on the screen? Okay, so that's the list. Now inside this list we have this what's it called? These items or these values. Just the way we have it in a string. Just the way we have it in a string. Can you remember in a string where we said W has an index of 0? So if I want to access W, I just say string of 0, I'm going to have W, string of 1, I'm going to have E, just like that. So in the list also we have what they call indexing also here. So if I want to access the item 1, I just have to access it by the index. So this is 1, 2, 3. Okay. Same thing happens here. So this is a list inside a list. Okay. This is a list inside a list. Let me remove this so it doesn't confuse us for now. So 0, if I want to access I just say G of 0. G of 0, I have I printed on the screen for me. If I change this guy to G of 1, I have 1. If I change this guy to G of 2, I have 1 and 2. Okay, let me just change to 1 of 0. Do we get? Okay, so now I want to print my target. What I want to print to screen is just these 2. Just these 2 alone. Just this guy, these 2 alone. How do I print these 2 alone to screen? All I just have to do is to say print G of 2 for me. Don't forget I said G of 2 is going to just give us this. To access I, you use the index of 0. To access 1, use 1. To access this, you use 2. Do you understand that aspect?
So hello.
Yeah.
What if you wanted to print that 1 inside the square bracket?
This one, yes. You just have to access it by the index too. The index here is this one, right?
Yes, that one.
Yes, you just have to access it by the index. The index here too is 0 and 1. Just the way we have.
If that is the case, but you accessed that 2 with 2 and not 1.
Yes, let me explain it again. Now, let me cut this. Control Z.
Because the 1, 2 have their index is 2. That is why 2, 1, 2 came out when you call for it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I told us 0 represents I, 1 represents 1, and 2 represents these guys.
1 and 2.
1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Yes, 1 and 2.
Yes.
So when I call 1 and 2 out, I'm going to have 1, 2. Okay, to be specific. Now inside this, don't forget this is a list also. This bracket, open and close bracket, is a list also. Okay.
Yeah.
And in the list, it always has a starting index of what?
0.
Of 0. So this is 0, this is 1. So if I want to access either of it. All I just have to do is to add a square bracket here and say 0, I'm going to have 1. Or if I say 1,
Okay.
or if I say 1, I'm going to,
Two.
sorry, 1,
2.
I will have 2. Do you
Okay,
understand?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So now let's look at list. A list, my list, this is a variable holding this. Okay. Now what data type is ABC?
String.
Thank you. ABC are strings. Okay. ABC are strings. ABC are strings. So if
Yeah.
I want to access, if I want to add an element to the end of this list, for example, I want to add in D, we have ABCD. All I have to do is to say my list.append. There's a keyword called append. My list.append D. Okay? My list.append D. So it's going to add D to the end. So let's run it and see if it's going to add it or not. So when I run my list again, I'm going to have
ABCD.
yes, I'm going to have ABCD. Sorry. So I'm going to have ABCD. So when I run my list, I'm going to have ABCD. So what if I want to add E to the end of the list? I could say this and this. So now you see I have DDE. That's because I ran it twice. So it's always advisable to run from the top to the bottom. So if you run from here, it's going to change. That's ABCDE. Do you understand?
Sorry, from the top to the bottom, how?
That is, like, for example, I ran from here. Sorry, let me just cut this guy. When I ran this guy, first of all, when I said my list.append D, it appended D for me only.
Yes.
Okay. When I say my list, it appended D only for me. That is, this is my list currently. Are we together?
Yes, yes.
Now I now appended, that is, I added another item called E. Okay. I added another item called E and I ran it. So now I have D twice because when I added D, I already added D before. Okay. Now when I ran this together, it added D and E again for me. Okay. So if I run this again, it's going to still be adding. Okay. It keeps on adding. But the best is to run from the top. So once you run from the top, that is from the beginning of where you created the list, everything is going to change. Do you get?
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Or you could, instead of doing...
Where were you running it from before? What do you mean by top? What do you mean by running it from the top?
When I say running from the top,
256.
yes.
Okay,
when I say
line
256.
256.
Line 256.
Okay.
Yes. When I say run from the top, I mean from the place you created it. That is from the place where you created your list or where you created that stuff in the beginning. Or you could do this. You could have it on a different cell, which could actually make sense. So you have it on a different cell, you're going to have different things entirely. So this place is just to show us that okay, so I have it EE. Can you say I have EE? So if I keep on, for example, I'm not running from the beginning. I'm running it from here. If I run here, you see that the values or the items keeps on adding. Can you see that? It keeps on adding to the list. But when I decide to run from the beginning of where I created my list, everything changed back to the way it is. Do you get?
Yes.
Okay, now this is my list now. I have ABCD. Okay. I have ABCD. Now the index of okay. I have A, B, C, D, E. Okay. Now each of them to have an index. Don't forget I told you a list also have an index. So what's the index of A?
0.
Okay. So if I say 0, I have A. If I say 1, I have B. If I say 1 to 3, it's going to give me what?
B, C, D.
No, if I say,
BC,
sorry,
ABC.
if
1 to 3 is going to be BC.
okay. So what if I say,
Okay, yeah, B, C.
so what if I say I want to print 1 to 1 to 3 or 1 to 4? What is going to be the output?
BCD.
Do you
B,
agree
C,
with?
D, E.
No. Do you agree with him?
BC,
Yeah.
BCD.
B, C, B, C, D, E.
No, it's not going to give
No,
us
there won't be
E.
any E.
If you run
It won't give us E.
the code, it should be B, C, D, E.
No, it won't give us
No,
E.
it will be BCD.
It will be BCD. This last item, just know this last
Okay,
item. is
sorry,
going
B,
to-
C, D.
yes, it's going to subtract 1 from it.
Okay, sure, yeah.
All right.
that's
So
fine.
if we now say want to print like negative slicing, that is minus. Minus starts from what? From behind. Okay, so when I do this, I'm going to have E. Do we understand? If I say minus, I'm going to have E. Don't forget I said minus 1. Can't remember when I said minus 1. Can we? Minus 2. Can we remember? Minus 3. Can we all remember?
Yes.
Okay. Then minus 5. Okay. Glad we all do. Okay. So if you want to access anything negative, you could also. Now, updating a list. It's possible to update a list. Don't forget we said in a string, we can't update a string, right? If we say we try updating a string here, we're going to have an error. But for a list, we could update a list. How do I identify a list? A list has a what? What type of bracket? A square bracket. Do we all agree?
That's what you said.
Yeah. So now updating a list, all you just have to do, let's say for example, all together. For example, my list is A, B, C, D, E. And I want to change this now. I want to change the value of E to, let's say, F. All together. I want to update it. I want to change it. Well, how do I change it? Can anyone suggest to us? How can we change it?
You edit the string now.
Yeah, this is a list, not a string. Yeah, I will edit it, fine. I will edit it actually. But how do I access it? Like, how,
Shows.
eh?
Say shows down.
Yeah, I will access it by the string. Don't forget, I have access to A here by the index 0. 0 represents A. So anytime you call my list of 0, you have A. My list of 2, you have C. My list of 3, you have. If I call in 3 here now, I have D. Do we get? Are we together?
Yeah, this one is a bit, but let's continue.
Okay. So now if I want to access, I want to change the value of E. Now, if I come to this place, E represents 4. So all I just have to do is to say of 4, sorry. Is that the index? Okay, yes, index of 4. Change it to F. So when I run it, can you see that the value of F here has changed? The value of E here has changed to F. Are we together?
Yeah.
Hello? Are we together? Do we understand?
Yes, you change the value of 4, which is the index
Index of E.
which which was used to be E, and we change it to F.
All right, thank you very much. So now let's look at nested list. Don't forget what we did here. What we did here is what we're going to do here now. Understanding these basics is very important so that when you are now doing data manipulation, you don't get stuck, or you don't have issues. Okay. So now for a list, this can be a bit confusing. So let me just delete all these guys. So we just do it afresh. Okay. So now how many lists do we have here now? Are we together? Are we together? Let's do this. Because I want us to be unmuted so that we could contribute. So this is beginning of 0, right? This is 1. This is 2. Now, this entire list here is 3. Do we all agree?
Okay.
This entire list here is 3, represent 3. Do we all agree? So if I say next of 3, can you see what it brought out? It brought out everything here. Do we get?
Okay.
So when I say next of 3, it brought out everything which we have here, right? Agreed. Good. So now, inside this list, that is inside here, let me copy it and put it down here so that I could explain. So inside here again, we have another list that is 0, 1, 2. Do we agree? This is 0, this is 1, then this list is 2. Do we agree?
Yes.
We do. Okay. So now let's try it. Let's say K equals to this. And now say K of, what should I print? K of what? If I want to get, let me adjust this so that we could all see and relate to. So if I want to get this entire stuff, what do I do? K of what?
K
Sorry?
of 2.
K of 2. Thank you. So if I do
K of 2.
K of 2. So if I do K of 2, I have this. Do we all get?
Yes.
Okay. Now inside this K of 2 now, inside this K of 2, we have another thing. That is, we have this guy. Let me name it Y. Y equals to this. Right? That not to confuse us. Okay. So when I put it this, I say Y of, so Y of what will give me target? Out there.
It's Y of 0.
So Y of 0 will give me target. Thank you. So Y of 0 will give me target. So if I say Y of 0 to give me target, do we all understand? So I've broken it down for us. I've broken it down for us. Let me come again. For those that didn't get initially, we have next equals to this data, equals to this list. And we have 0 representing 1, 1 representing 2, 2 representing 3, and 3 representing this 3, this list. Now I brought this list out and represent it as K. Okay? So K equals to this list. So if I say K of, and don't forget, every list always starts with the index of 0. So if I say 0, 1, 2, so K of 2 will give me this list, which is this. I brought this list out again, say K of 0 will give me target. So if I say K of 1, it's going to give me what? 4.
4.
Thank you. So now let me bring this guy down. let me bring it down so that we could all contribute to this aspect. So now if I'm to, so now I'm using next. Now forget about the K and Y. So now if I say K of 3 is going to give me what? This, right? We all agree to this. So if I say K of 3 of 2, what is it going to give me?
Are you using K or next?
Next, sorry, I'm sorry, next. So if I say next of 2, it's going to give me what?
Next of 2
Yes.
will give you
Next of 3 of
3.
2.
Next of 3 of 2.
Next of 3.
Next of
This 3 represents everything here. And this 2 here represents everything here. Do we get? Do you understand?
so next, yeah. So next of 3 will give you target and 4.
Yes, next of 3 of 2 will give me target and
Yeah.
4. So if I now want to pick, if I now want to pick just target alone,
Target alone will be next of 3. Next of 3, 0.
no, next of 3 of 2 of 0.
Oh.
So it's taking it like steps. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Next of
Why is
3,
it 3 steps?
because it's inside, like it's like having something inside another thing, like nexted, like a net or next.
Okay.
Like something inside something inside
Next.
something. Yes. So I have 3. 3 is holding 2. 3 is holding everything. 3 is representing this guy. Now 2 is representing this guy. And 0 is representing target. 1 is representing 4. So do we all understand? Do you have any question?
Let's continue.
All right.
Yeah, I'm beginning to feel sleepy.
So sorry. So now we have tuple. A tuple is a sequence of Python objects separated by commas. Okay. Now, how do you represent a tuple? A tuple is represented by a parenthesis. Okay, and tuple are immuted. Just know that once you have a tuple, for example, I have a variable called Bob, and I have 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. That's the index of it. Okay. If I say Bob of 2, that is, I'm printing this. If I say Bob of 1, I'm printing this. Okay. All right. So now let's say we want to change. Let me pause. Let me mute us. Okay. So now we have tuple. Tuple are immutable. That is, you can't change the value of tuple. So for example, Bob equals to 7 equals to this, and each of these has an index. Don't forget I said we use the index to access the value. So if I want to access 1, all I just have to say Bob of 1, and I'm going to have this. Okay. Now if I say Bob of 2 equals to 100, it's going to give me an error because I can't change the value of tuple because tuple are immutable. Now, when we talk about sets are like the normal sets we know in maths, but it's represented by curly brackets. So when I say 1, 2, 3, now sets identify unique values. Now the unique values here are either 1, 2, 3. Okay, but we have multiple 1s, multiple 2s, multiple 3. So all it's just going to do is to identify the unique value. Okay, now we have a list. So now let's consider this example. A equals to ACD, which is what? Which is a list. and this is also a list. Okay. So we have a list. This is a list and this is a list. Okay. So I say print A pipe B. If you do shifts, then above enter, you see a pipe. If you hold shift and above enter, you see a pipe button or kind of, yes. So just press it will give you this pipe. So in that you have this. That's A union B, you have D to AC. Now, when you say union, it's joining everything together. So now let's look at this. I already talked about this before. First name, F name equals to Goody, surname equals to John, age equals to 30. Concatenation, we are concatenating everything using comma. If you use plus, you are going to still have something, okay? But there will be no space, so it's best to use comma. I already explained this to us. So then if I say, okay, I already explained this. So if I say A equals to this, that is A equals to this set, B equals to this set, okay? Print A and B. What is going to do is going to print the unique value. So what is unique here is 7, what is unique here is 7. Okay, we could play around with it. Now for this, you can't mute it. That is, you can't change the value by the index. If I say I want to change the value of the sets that is based on the index 1, I want to change it. It's going to give an error. We've already discussed about that at the top, okay? So now let's talk about dictionary. Dictionary is another flexible inbuilt data set.
Hold on, goodness. Can you go back to that that last
This one?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so you are saying that if A is this, B is this, and A.
The percentage sign here.
What do you call it?
A percentage
yes.
B.
That hypersound.
Yeah.
What does it mean? Everything unique.
Yes, it represents like what's it called? Intercepts. It's an intercept operation.
A intercept B.
Yes, A intercept B.
Okay, so but you now say that you can't change the figures, right?
Yes, that's
so
for
are you
sets.
saying that
That's for sets.
are you saying that if you go in, like for instance, in that a list and change 100 to another 7, right? It will give an error message?
Yes, it will give
Is that
an
what
error.
you're saying?
Yes, it will give an error message. Yes, that's what I'm
That's
trying
if
to
you
say.
go inside into that curly bracket and change.
Yes, it's going to give an error message. Let's try it.
No, that's not what you are doing now. We are in another section.
No, this for a list. Sorry. This is for a set. Well, I'm talking about sets here. This last one talks about sets. All together. This last section.
Here is what I'm asking. Like in like 80, okay? I'm asking, can you go in and change any value in that curly bracket? Is it allowed?
No, it's not allowed. That's what I'm trying to explain. Okay, let me delete this. That's what I'm trying to explain over here. This place. For example, this is a list, right? How do you identify a list? A list is enclosed in a curly bracket. Now I said KL equals to this list. And I'm trying to say, okay, index of 1 represents index of 0, 1, 2. And I say, okay, index of 0, I want to change this 1 to 22. Now after running it, I have an error. Because set object does not support item assignment. That is, it doesn't allow us to change it. Do we understand?
Okay. Yes.
All right, thank you. So now let's
set object, is it like tuples now?
Yes. Set objects that are like tuples also. They're like more of like immutable also. So the only thing that are mutable are like the list. A list is mutable, that is, you could change the value in a list. Just the way we try to change the value where did we even try to change the value here? Strings are immutable. Also note, you can't change a string. You can't change, let's say Southtech now. We now want to change the first letter, that is S, to something. We can't change it. But for instance, if Southtech is spelled S, comma, O, comma, the full spelling in a list, then that means we could change it, because this is a list. And we could, like in this list, we change, where is it? In this list, we change the value of F, we change the value of E here to F. So it's changeable. That's for a list. So what if, let me come here. What if I say, what I'm trying to say is S here, O, do we get? Okay, now I have Southtex well spelled in a list. This is a list, don't forget. Now, if I say this, sorry, if I say JOK, right, equals to this guy, and I'll say JKO, don't forget this has an index of what? What's the index? S has an index of, I don't know, are we following?
6.
Yes, we are following.
Okay, so if I now say I want to change the index of, what index should I change? For example, 0, I want to change S. I don't want S, I want something else. Let's say low tech. I want to change it to S. I want to change it to S. Now, if I print JKO to screen, I'm going to have low tech. Do you understand? That is, I've changed the value. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So now let's go to dictionary. Dictionary works in the same way we have our normal dictionary, our normal either soft or hard copy dictionary. You know, when you want to look for a word in a dictionary, you have to go through the keys. Now, the keys here are like the alphabet. We have how many alphabets? We have 26 alphabets, and each of them, we represent them as keys, like in Python. So, for example, for dictionary, we have keys and we have item. Now, items are like the word we're actually looking for. So, for example, I have D equals to B. B represents boy. E represents egg. You can have as many as possible. Don't forget, this is the format. This is the key format, and this semicolon, the boy. So if I print D, I'm going to have, if I print D, I'm going to have it like this. Then if I say D of B, that is, I want to print the value. I want to find what B is. For example, I'm giving it an actual dictionary. I want to find what B is. So B represents boy. Okay? B represents boy. Okay? So if I come in here and say D of E, I'm going to have egg, because E represents egg. E represents egg. But if I now say I want to find E, I'm going to have an error, just as we have here. I say D of egg. It's going to give me an error because I can't find the value of E by using the item. I don't know if we get the concept. Do we?
Yeah.
No, I didn't follow.
I said we have in a dictionary, we have a normal dictionary, we have the letters, 26 alphabet as A to Z, right? Now over there,
Yeah.
over here, we represent them as keys. So we can have A, B, C, D, E, F to Z as keys. So now in this, for example, we represent E1 as B, E2 as E. Okay. Now, sorry, I have to mute this person. Okay. So we have key 1 as B, key 2 as E. And in this place, I said B should be equals to boy, and E should represent egg. B should represent boy, E should represent egg. Now I print everything to screen. So if I want to get boy now, I want to print boy. If I say D of B, I'll get boy. If I say D of E, I'll get egg. But if I now say D of egg, I want to get E, it's going to give me an error. Do we understand?
Very well.
All right. So now I could also change the value of the elements, because in a dictionary, B can represent different words like boy, different words, banana or bounce or anything. So for this one, I say, okay, D of B equals to banana. Now I've changed the value of D. So now D now represents banana. So you could do more reading if you want to. There's a reading link here you could, if you want to do. Now let's go to Boolean. We are almost done with it. So we could call it a, okay? So there's something called Boolean. Boolean in Python is either true or false. So true represents 1, while false represents 0. Are we there? Okay, so if I say A equals to true, if I print A, it's going to print true. B equals to false. If I say B, if I print B, I'll have false. Okay. Now let's do comparison. I'm very sure we're all familiar with greater than, less than, greater than, equals to, less than, equals to. Now
Yes.
this sign here represents not equals to. If you check our WhatsApp group chat, I sent us like a screenshot of PowerPoint slide that explain each of these operators. So you could check it out and match the signs together to see if, because we have not we have greater than, less than, greater than, equals to, less than, equals to, not equals to, and so on, and so many. Are we together?
Yeah, but you're no longer sharing your screen.
Okay. All right, let me share my screen. I think the section finished for that one. So comparing comparison operators. So we are familiar with 1 greater than. So it returns a Boolean. Is 1 greater than 2? Is 1 greater than 2? So over here now, are we together? So is 1 greater than 2? It's going to return a Boolean, either true or false. So is 1 actually greater than true? No, it's returned false. Is 1 less than 2? Yes, it is. Is 1 less than, and is 1 greater than or equals to 1? Yes. 1 is not greater than 1, but 1 is actually equals to 1. So it will give us true. Do we understand? Hello, are we there?
Yes.
Okay, now I talked about data types. When I see data types, I'm saying strings, integers, floats, and all that stuff. So this data type is an integer, and this one is a string. So is 1 equals to, now this equals to is different from the single equals to, or we all know that I say A equals to 10 is actually different from this. If I say A equals to, it means I'm comparing what is at the left hand side to what is at the right hand side if they are both the same thing. Do we get? So for this one now, is this one actually equals to this one? False. This one here at the left is not the same thing at the right, even though they are both 1, 1, but their data types are different. If I say is 1 equals to 1, yes, it's going to give me true. But because what is at the left-hand side is different from what is at the right-hand side, it's going to give me false. Just as we have here, is I equals to buy? No, I is not equals to buy. Is I equals to I? That is, I here equals to this I. False. Reason being that it's case sensitive, okay? So I is HI, capital letter and small letter. They are both different. Now, this operator, it means not equals to, okay? So A equals to 1, B equals to 2. Now the question here now is A not equals to B? True, yes, A is not equals to B. Okay, that's because it's true. I hope you understand. Now, here we said 2 is 2. Yes, true, 2 is 2. If I change here to 3, 2 is 3, false, 2 is not 3. So 2 is 2. Okay? Now, if I say 3 is not 1, true, it will return true because 3 is not actually 1. But if I say 3 is not 3, it's false. It's going to give me false because 3 is actually 3. But because the command say 3 is not 3, it's going to give me a false. Okay? Now, A equals to 2. A equals to this list, 2, 3, 6. Now, the question is 3 not in A. False, 3 is not in A. Then if I change this place to 7 or something else, 9, 3 not in A, yes, it's actually, the value 3 is in this place, 3 is not here, so it will return true. But if 3 is actually here, it's going to give us false. That's why it gives us false, because 3 is actually in this list. But if I remove this not and I say 3 in A, it's going to give me true, because 3 is actually in A. But if I say 3 not in A, it's going to give me false because 3 is actually in A. Okay. So now let's look at logical operators. For logical operators, we have true or false. Okay. For logical operator, sorry, let's say true or false. For logical operator, we have and or. Now for and, both statements must be true. This is a condition. 2 greater than 1 is a condition. 2 less than 3 is a condition. Now for and to be true, that is for and, if you say this condition and this condition, that is both statements or both conditions must be true before you can have a true. But for or, either one of them is true. Are we together? That is either this guy is true or this guy is true. It's going to give us a true. It will give us a true. But if this guy is a true and this guy is a false, it's going to give us false. But if this guy is true and this guy is true, it's going to both give us true. Okay. So for example, 2 greater than 1. Is 2 greater than 1? Yes, it's true. Is 2 less than 3? Yes, it's true. Both conditions are true, so it's going to give us true. But if I change this to a greater than, is 2 greater than 1? Is 2 less than 1? Sorry. This is false. But 2 is less than 3. This is true. So it's going to give us a false because one of the statements is false. That's why it's giving us false. But if both statements are true, it's going to give us a true. Now for this one, either this guy is true or this guy is true, it's going to give us a true. But if both statements are false, that is, let me do this again. If I say 1 greater than 2, is 1 greater than 2? No, 1 is not greater than 2. This is false. Now, is 2 less than 3? True. Yes, 2 is actually less than 3. If I run this, it's going to give me a true. But what if I have false? What if I have false here and I have false here? That is 2 greater than 3. Both of them are false, so it's going to give me false. So if I have false, it's going to give me false. We could check logical operation online to see them. Now, for this one, don't forget I said for all, either one of the statements is true, it will give us a true. So if this condition, 1 equals to 2, this is false. 2 equals to 3, this is false. But 4 equals to 4, this is true. So it's going to give us a true. Any question on that?
Very clear.
Okay, we all understand because these parts are easy parts. So now let's look at if statements. For if statements, the condition must be true before you can print out anything. So this is how to write an if statement. So if 1 equals to 1, print yap. So if I say 1 equals to 1, it's print yap. But if the statement is not true, so let's say 1 greater than. Is 1 greater than 1? No, 1 is not greater than 1. So it won't print anything. Okay? So don't forget, for an if statement to print something, the condition must be true. That is, so excuse me, 1 is greater than 2. It must be printed out. Okay? So is 1 greater than 2? No, it won't print anything. Okay, so now let's use the else statement. So this condition, if 1 is greater than 2, print this. That is, if this statement is true, it should print this. Else, it should print this. That if this statement is false, it's going to print this. Do we all understand? Okay, so if 1 is greater than 2, is 1 greater than 2? False. You know, it's the same code. So let me just change this to less than. So over here now, it's printing first. Why? Because this statement is true. 1 is less than 2. That's true. But 1 here is not greater than 2. 1 is not actually greater than 2. So it's going to print this last one. Do you have any question on that?
It's well understood.
All right. So now let's look at the more complex one. If 1 equals to 2, that is, if this condition is true, it will print this. Else, if this condition is false, it will come to this place and check, is this condition true? If this condition is true, it will print this. Else, if this both condition, that's if this guy is false, this guy is false, this guy is false, it's going to print this last one. So now let's check. Is 1 equals to 2? No, 1 is not equals to 2. It will come here. Is 3 equals to 3? So this condition is false, this condition is false, so it's going to print the last one last. But what if the first condition is true? 1 is equals to 1. It's going to print 1. Okay. What if this condition is true? 3 equals to 3. It's going to print middle. So I hope you get the concept. So now let's try this code out. So this code is to prompt a user. That is to prompt a user. So you could say end num equals to input. That is, now int means the data type. Okay. Enclosed in a bracket, that is input, enter a number. So that's what is bringing this box out. So now the container, that is what is holding it now, is called num. All together, what is holding it now is called num. Okay, so if I say if num is greater than 0, that is, if this condition here is true, it will consider everything here. But if this condition here is false, that is not true, it will come straight down here and print this guy. Okay, so let's say I enter -5 or -2, and I can enter negative number. So because this condition is false, it went straight down here and printed this guy. Okay, let me run it again. So now if I enter 0, it printed 0. Okay, now if 0 is 0 greater than or equals to 0, yes, 0 is not actually greater than 0, but 0 is equals to 0. Okay, so it printed, so it went to this place and say, okay, if 0 is equals to 0, print 0, else print positive number. So because what I entered is 0, that is 0 equals to 0, what is at the left is actually equals to what is at the right. 0 is actually equals to 0. It printed 0. Okay, but but the next one now prints. So now let me run it again and see if I enter 3. Now it gave me a positive number because what I entered is actually greater than 0. 3 is greater than 0. True. It comes to this condition. Now, is 3 equals to 0 equals to 0? No, 3 is not equals to 0. That's why I printed positive number. I hope we all understand that. We all understood that part. Are we clear on that?
Yeah, we are.
All right. Now for loops, loop are like looping, just the way the word implies. It's iterate through a sequence of numbers, either be a list. We've talked about list, yes or yes. How do we identify a list? Quick question. How do we identify a list? Based on the bracket.
It's always inside the curly brackets.
No, square bracket.
Yeah, square bracket, sorry.
Yes. Now a tuple is always in what?
The curly brackets.
Yes. No, a tuple is always in a what's it called? In parentheses. That is this type of brackets, open and close bracket, this type of bracket. A tuple is always like that. Why a string? Maybe when you go through the video again, after watching it like once or twice, you should understand this better. So a string, how do I identify a string? A string is in what? A quote, either single or double quote or multiple line quote. So for a loop, we have for loop and we have while loop. So we're almost done. So let's look at for loop. So now let's look at for loop. For for loop, we have this. Now, SEQ is equals to a list. And this list is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Agreed, right? Now, for I, this is how to write a for loop. You say for I be for J in this list. Now, J can be anything. You could change this guy to a V, to V. You could name it anything, or you could name it Bob. I always like to use the term Bob, don't mind me. So if I say for Bob in this list, print Bob. So it's going to print everything for me, 1 to 6, okay? So if I say for item in SEQ, don't forget I said you could name it anything. So for it in SEQ, that is for it in this list, that is iterate through this stuff and print, sorry, excuse me. Okay, so for it in SEQ, print I. Okay, print I. You could say print hello. Either way you do it is fine. Okay, so it's how many times it's going to print? It's going to print it 6 times. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Based on the number of things that are here. If I reduce this guy to 5 and I run it, it's going to give us 5 times. Do you all understand? So if I say for jelly in this guy, for jelly in this guy, print jelly plus jelly. If I say jelly, if I say jelly plus jelly, I can decide to change this guy to just JE. Don't forget, I told us we could rename it as anyhow we want it. So for JE in this list, for JE in this list, print JE plus JE. So what does it do? It prints this JE. It had both JE and JE. So what does it do? You just come in here and say 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, 4 plus 4, 5 plus 5. So 1 plus 1 is 2 plus 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's how it works. So now for a for loop, how does it work? For a for loop, this is how a for loop works. We have something called a fixed counter and we have something called an iterator or a counter. You could call it either an iterator or a counter, either ways. Okay, so you see for I, so we'll say I equals to 1. That is, this is a fixed counter, fixed iterator. Okay, we're starting from 1. We could start from 0. If you want, you could start from 0, you could start from 1. But let's just stick to our 1. Okay, so you say why I is less than 5. Don't forget something called, in Python, we call something indentation. Okay, in Python, there's something called indentation. Okay, sorry, please give me a minute. Let me plug in my laptop. My battery is kind of low. All right, so in Python, we have something called a fixed, we have fixed counter and we have an iterator. So if I say why I was saying something about indentation. So if I press enter, we have something called, we have an indentation already. That is why I is less than 5, print I is I. That's I equals to I plus 1. Now, let me tell you, let me explain how this part works. Okay. So the program is going to run from this. That is, if I enter I, let me just copy this guy and paste it here so we could understand. Okay. So if I say I is now 1 currently. So it's going to be say is Y less than 5? True. Y is less than 5. print this. Okay. After printing this, it will now come back and say, okay, I equals to 1, because I is currently 1, 1 plus 1. So now I is equals to 1 plus 1. Now I equals to 2. Are we together? Now currently I is equals to 2. So I is going to change in here to 2. So it will now ask now, is 2 less than 5? Yes, 2 is less than 5. It will now print I. Okay, that's why we have 2 here. That's why we have 2 printed here. Sorry, we have 2 printed here. So now it's now going to be I equals to, it's not going to be 2 plus 1. Now 2 plus 1 is what? 3. So now 3 has, so it's now come back here and say I equals to 3. Now is 3 less than 5? 3 less than 5? True. 3 is less than 5. So it's going to print 3 here, which is this here. I'm going to say 3 plus 1, which is 4. Like that. Okay? And it's going to run. So it 4, sorry. Okay? So now I is 4. So now you're going to ask now, is 4 less than 5? Yes, 4 is less than 5. It will print 4, which is the last one we have here. It will say 4 plus 1, which is 5. Now the question now is, it will change, the counter will change to 5. Are we together? Are we getting it? So it will say 5 is 5 less than 5? No. Because this condition is false, it's going to terminate the while loop. But what if we have less than equals to here? Okay, if I have less than equals to, if you say, is 5 less than equals to 5? Yes, 5 is not actually less than, but 5 is equals to 5. Okay, so if 5 equals to 5, yes, it's going to say 5 plus 1, 6. Okay, now I will change to 6. Now is 6 less than equals to 5? No, 6 is not less than equals to 5. So it's going to terminate it. So now let me run this for us to see. So now we have 1 to 5. But if I remove this equals to, if I remove the equals to and I run this, I have 1 to 4. I hope we all understand that. We all understood that, sorry. Now for list, are we together? We're almost done. After this, we have just functional and I will call it a day. Are we all there? Hello?
Go ahead.
All right, so we have what they call range. Can we generate a sequence of range? Yes. So now how does range work? Range works just the way we have indexing, where we say -1. Okay. So if I say range of 5, just know it's 5 minus 1. It will give me 0 to 4. Okay. So if I say range of 9 in a list, it's going to give me range of 10. It's going to give me 0 to 9. If I say range of 2 to 8, it's going to start from 2 and it's going to say 8 minus 1, which is 7. So it will give me 2 to 7. Do we all understand? If I say range of 2 to 20, it's going to give me, it's going to start from 2 and it's going to give me, so if I say 20 minus 1 is going to give me 19. So that's 2 to 19. But this last one here is 3. So if 3 means step, that is, do you know with the way we have even numbers and odd numbers? So it's going to jump numbers. So if I say step of 2, that is going to start from 2. Let me run this now. It's going to start from 2. You say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that is going to jump in a step of 2. So this is for even numbers. So if I change it to 3, it's going to be for odd numbers. That is going to jump 3 times. That is 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 3. 5. It now says 6, 7, 8. That's 3. So you could do the math yourself and you see it actually works. Okay. So if I could say for I, don't forget I said you could name this anything of your choice. For I in range of 5, that is, it's 5 in range of 5. What is it going to give us? 5 minus 1, 4. So it's going to give us 0 to 5, 0 to 4. Do you all understand? So this is the last aspect for today. I will call it a day. So I'm going to send in the recorded video so you could rewatch and hopefully have any question so that next tomorrow we will move to the library, which we're supposed to do today, but because of the issue. All right, so let's talk about functions. Are we all together?
Yeah. Continue, goodness.
All right, sir. So for function, we have def. So def add norms. Now, how do we write a function? A function is like a block of code which only runs when called. Okay. So at this place, let me start from the beginning. Def is a keyword in Python for creating a function. Now, n1 and n2 are called parameters. You could name it anything of your choice. Either you say num, either you say num1 and num2, any one. But I just choose to use n. Okay, n1 and n2. So this add norms, add underscore norms, is anything you feel like calling it. I could just call it add. I could name it as add n. That's the name of the function I want to give it. So, and I will say, okay, sum underscore norms equals to n1 plus n2, return n norm. Okay. If I run this, I have nothing printed. Right? Now, over here, I'm going to call the function. In this place, I can call the function here now. You could just do like this, like copy this guy and paste this guy. Now, and I can call it, can call here 5, and I can call here, sorry, comma, 7. Now, I have an error because of this. Now, I have it as 12. So at this point, I'm calling the function. Sorry. So at this point, I'm calling the function. So it's only called when, so it only returns, it only runs when called. So over here, I'm calling the function. As you can see, the function is being called. Okay, so at this point, the function is being called. That is this not add n, and I pass in the parameter 5, which represents n1, and 7 represents n2. So this addition, 5 plus 7 is 12. This point is this sum underscore norms. That's where this addition takes place, and that's why it's returning norms. If I don't put this return norms, it's not going to work. Okay, so once you pass in a parameter like that, you have to pass in, sorry. Okay, you pass in this. There's something called indentation, okay, in Python. So if I do this and I press enter, you see it fell under the add n, okay? Because if I do this and I run it, it's going to give me an error. That's indentation error. So Python work with indentation. So if I run this, I'm going to have this, and if I do this, I have this. Okay, do we understand? So let me do for this one so we could understand the concept. So def age, my age equals to 2022 minus my age. So I'm over this place. What am I doing? I'm calling the function that is age of my age. So I pass in the value. Let's say 38. Okay, and so it shows me when I was born. So I was born in 1984. Okay, so that's that for that. Now def bob a comma b. Now this is for if. Don't forget I said a condition must be true before it can return something here, else it's going to return this guy. So now def bob, that's a comma b. Don't forget 3 represents a, 1 represents b. So is 3 less than equals to b? No, 3 is not less than equals to b. That's why it returned false for us. Okay, so that's that for that. So we could call it a day. All these other parts are not necessary. So we could call it a day. So if you have any question, are we all together?
Thank you very much. Goodness.
Yes, sir. So do you have any questions so far?
Not really. Maybe as we are going through it once more, maybe on our own, if questions come up, we can now ask you on the WhatsApp or maybe during the next session.
All right then. Thank you very much. So our assignment now that's the second assignment we have now is to go through the Python crash course exercise. I said that's the other slide. Okay, so what we are expected to do is to run through them. Okay, we have to run through them. Okay, so if you have any error or any question, you could just chat us up, like if you just put it on the group chat, then we look at it together. So this is for the solution, this is for the exercise. So where's the exercise? Okay, this is for the exercise. Sorry. So we are all expected to work through this. So if you don't do it, I'm sorry, we will not continue with the class if we don't attempt this, because attempting this or trying to do this shows that, okay, we understand to some level of what we did today, so that we don't waste our time proceeding to something else. Okay, so thank you very much. If you have any question, you can drop it on the WhatsApp group chat, and we'll see tomorrow and we'll continue from there with NumPy. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Good
sir.
night.
Thank
All right,
you.
good night, sir. Good night. Thank you.
Yeah, good night.
Yeah.